Can you guys see my
Yes, we
Adobe
can.
Illustrator? Okay,
Yes.
great. And by the way, Karen, just for you, I've created what I call my senior citizen. I can say that now because I'm 60. I created my senior citizen cursor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't realize that I was your representative senior citizen, but I'll accept that honor. You mean your enlarged mouse. That's great. Well, the recording just started, so if you could just introduce who you are and what this is, that would be great.
Okay, my name is Cornelius Chopin, and I'm the co-manager of the Adobe Users Group. Been part of this group for over 2 decades, I think. And we talk about everything Adobe. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Adobe Illustrator, new 3D engine, if you will, which is really nice. I'm excited about it. I noticed that they're constantly improving on that engine, by the way, compared to when it initially got released. They've added where you can add symbols, which is a big plus for me, where you can map stuff onto the surface of a 3D object. That's a big one. I noticed they've added metallic capabilities now. That's another nice little feature. I'm going to show you that. We're going to be demoing that hopefully before the close of the night. And there's some other little small features behind the scene that we're going to be looking at as well. And then there's some tips and tricks along the way that you'll learn in the process. So with that in mind, I have 3 or 4 actually. I have about 4 objects. And again, I'm starting off small objects and we advance to more advanced objects, right? Typically the way you do things in programming, you start off with hello world and then you advance to all of the other type of programming algorithms. So you typically start off with a square, and we did that with day 1. And then now we move into some more advanced objects using the 3D engine. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do, and this is going to be really fast because we've done this already, I'm going to create the gear. And a gear is typically one of the first objects that you typically create as a 3D developer, if you will, a designer. So we're going to do the gear 2 ways. I'm going to do it the last way we did it, and then I'm going to do it another way because I found a new technique on how to create a gear. But typically a gear is like one of the first object that you learn to create in 3D. So with that in mind, let's do the old way, and then I'm going to show you the new way. So I'm going to use the elliptical tool, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing as I go. Hold on the Shift key to constrain this circle, constrain this ellipse to a circle, I should say. And then I'm going to change this to, man, that's a big cursor. That's really big. So I have this object right here, okay? And it could be any color, but for right now, I have this circle. And then I'm going to use my Polygon tool, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key. Now, when you hold down the Shift key, it prevents it from rotating like that. It stays on its base, and you could just grow it instead of rotating it. So if you hold on the Shift key, it constrains it to the base of that polygon. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to change the color so you can appreciate this better. Change the color to red, and I'm going to move it on top. I think I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. That's a big cursor. I'm going to move this right on top, and you notice how I'm centering it. I love those guidelines. I mean, back in the old days, 10 years ago, we used to have to draw guides and grids and all kind of craziness, right? Y'all remember that? So y'all too young to remember that. But now you got these little guides that tells you you're intersecting with this and you know, on the edge of that. I just love that. Okay, anyway, that's one object that I put on top of this circle, but I want to rotate that object all the way around here to create the illusion, and everything is an illusion, of a gear. So the way you could do that is you could use the reflect tool, actually the rotate tool is what I'm looking for. So you could rotate that, make sure you select the object. Remember the golden rule, if you've been in my class, y'all know by now, right? Only what's selected gets affected, right? So I got that object selected. I'm gonna come here and I'm looking for the center because I want to rotate, I want this object to pivot or move from this center. So you see that word, I don't know if you can see, it's very faint, but the word center is right in the middle of that cursor. I'm gonna click it and I'm gonna commit it right there. See that? Okay, that's the center. Now, if I try to move this, you can see it can move, right? But what I wanted to move 45-degree angle. Okay, now remember, like in most program, you hold down the shift key to constrain things by angles, degrees, or directions. That's the shift key, the tip there to remember. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to move this thing like, oh, well, I actually made a mistake and released it. So let me do that again. Once you click it, then you have to move it. Otherwise, you release it, and it's kind of hard to see where the center is. There it is. Now, if I try to move this, I'm gonna hold on the shift key, and you see it kind of constrained it to 45 degrees. But if I let go, it's gonna move there. I want it to copy it there. So as you guys know, in most programs, particularly Adobe, you hold on the Alt key or the Option key, and that will duplicate it. So if I hold on the Alt key, or the Option key in my case, I'm gonna flash it at you. You guys see that it's big enough, you ought to be able to see it, right? That anytime you see the black and white arrows, that's your dead giveaway that it's gonna duplicate that object. Okay, so it's gonna duplicate that object, and you're gonna have two instances of that polygon. So I'm gonna let go to mouse, let go to key. There you go, make a Mickey, mouse key. Okay, and that's how you remember that. Then the other technique that you learn in Illustrator, or you should have learned in Illustrator in class 101, is you hold on to Command and is it a D for duplicate, how you like that? And it's gonna duplicate that object at that same angle, in this case, 45 degrees, around the width of that, around the circumference, I should say, of that circle, just like that. Now, I probably made those polygons too big, but you guys get the drift. Okay, so there you have it. Now I can select all of these, just by lassoing on it with the selection tool. And then, let me see if I can move this over. With the Polygon tool, a Pathfinder tool that is, I can combine all of these shapes into one. This is that first option right here, unite. Okay, when I do that, bam, it combines it into one shape. Then I can go back to my—
Cornelius, can the little window that you have open with the tool selection be made larger? It's very hard to see what's in there.
Yeah, this the Pathfinder.
Yeah, and there's just the whole window. Yeah, can you make the window bigger so that we can see what the content is?
I wish I could. I don't know.
It doesn't drag from the corner, so
Yeah,
you
it
can't
doesn't.
enlarge it.
No, that's the biggest
Okay.
you can get it.
Okay, well, there's our wish list for the next iteration of
Yeah, that would be
Illustrator.
nice to be able to do that, because
Yeah.
that's the reason why I did the cursor so big. So people like the big cursor because they can see where things going, right? Where I'm moving, because I have a tendency, you know, I'm from Louisiana, we talk fast and we move fast, right? So
Thank you.
but anyway, so we got the start of what we call a gear. And again, I think I made these polygons a little bit big because I want a larger area right here that I missed, but that's okay. You guys get my drift. Now what I want to do is draw a circle. Again, I'm gonna try to see if I can find the center of that. And I think it's right. I see it. See it right there? Okay, it's right there. I'm gonna hold on the Option key or the Alt key. That's gonna draw from the center instead of the side. You know that. And then I'm gonna hold on the Shift key, and that's gonna constrain it to a circle instead of a ellipse. If you do this, it's just gonna do a ellipse. But if I hold on the Shift key, it's gonna force it to a circle. So I'm gonna just do that. And you can pull this out however you want, how big you want. Now, I'm gonna change the color just so you can see this better. I often do that, not that you have to, but I'm gonna select this and just change the color to any other color, just so that you can see this better. What I wanna do is cut a hole in here to make the hole where you could insert this gear on a rod or whatever. So with that in mind, I'm gonna select what I want to affect, which is both of these objects. And then I'm gonna go back to my Pathfinder tool, and this is unite. This is minus front. So whatever's in the front is gonna cut a hole into that object. Okay. I like to make it akin to a cookie cutter. If you guys are familiar with cookie cutters, you can take that dough and just kind of stamp it to cut the shape of the cookie out. When this is akin to that, this minus front will do. So when I click this button, let the magic begin, bam, it literally cut a hole. Now it's not white there, that's a hole in that object. So now that we have this object, now we can make it a 3D. So again, with that object selected, I can go to my 3D panel. And remember, we got three things you can do to 3D, right? You can do the object, you can do material, and you can do lighting. Okay, so let's start off with an object. Okay, so I want to extrude this this object. So I'm gonna use the extrude option. There's 4 different options that we spoke of in the past. The one that you use the most is the extrude and revolve. Inflate is a new one I may add. It's okay. And plane, you're not going to use that often, but I promise you, you're going to use these two 99% of the time. So we're going to do extrude. Bam, there it is right there without much fuss. You can use what I call my little avatar. You like that little globe right there? That means you can rotate this thing in 3D space. I always like to say that term, 3D space. It got a little ring to it. Okay, so you can literally rotate this without much fuss, without it having to render after you stop rotating it. In the old days, the old engine, you let it go, and then it takes a while for it to render. I can literally rotate this without it having to render after I let go. It will literally render this thing the whole time I'm rotating it. Now, there's a difference. If you click here, you're going to select the 3D object and rotate it in all different axes. You can see all 3 of these axes are being changed, right? Now they got these different other axes, and I got this thing really big. I'm making me laugh because it's so big. That's the x-axis. You can see that. So it's going to rotate it. Let me just do this so you can see it better. I'm going to do just the front face of it so you can see this better. This is the x-axis, so it's going to rotate it on the x-axis. This is the y-axis, going to rotate it on the y-axis. And this is the Z, or Z. I always like to say Z, like the British word of saying that. And it's going to rotate it like a propeller, if you will, or gear in this case, since I'm dealing with a gear, right? And so those are the 3 X, Y, and Z that you always deal with in a 3D application, what we would like to refer to as 3D space. I always like to do that. So anyway, there you have it. You got this 3D object. You can do whatever you want to it. You can add whatever material you want. You got a host of material that you can add to this. I like the wood for some reason. You know, if you're a woodworking person, the wood always come in handy. You could do any type of stone, whatever tickle your fancy. You just click on that, bam, and it's going to literally render that thing on top of that object in 3D space. I'm gonna go back to the default, which is basically whatever color that thing is, and then it's going to add a little texture to it. Now, something else that is new to the newer version, I believe this engine just relatively recent, is this ability to roughen it. Now, this doesn't work on this object, but what does work is the metallic. Now, watch what happens when I pull on this metallic slider. You might not see it so much on this one, but when we're gonna do a Coca-Cola can later on, you can see it's gonna highlight the material and make it look metal-like. This is almost like using the lighting effect, which begs the next question. You have lighting, so you can adjust the various lighting effects, and you can also adjust the intensity, the rotation, get the angle you want, the height of the light. You know, just imagine you shining the light on this thing, and the softness of it. So you just play around with that. And then you also have the ambient lighting, which is what I refer to as room lighting, if you will. And you can change the ambient lighting as well. So again, you just kind of play with that. And then the shadow still needs some work done to it, but you know, you could play around with the shadow. I don't like using the shadow in this version. Hopefully they can kind of improve on it, but I just hadn't had much success with using the shadow with this 3D rendering engine. If I needed to, I'd just do it in Photoshop or another application once I brought it into that application. So anyway, that's the first version that we did a couple weeks ago. I just wanted to do it again because I want you to see the other way of doing it. You may not like to being able to have to do the polygon, and then you have to do the the pathfinder, and you have to merge it and all that craziness. So let me show you another way of doing this. I'm gonna move this on the side. By the way, when you click here, it's going to rotate the 3D object. If you click outside of the this, it's going to move the object. So if I click over here, I'm going to move the object. So I can move the object off the edge. Well, off the edge. I don't know why I did that. That must be my computer. Not rendering correctly.
So for those who are not that familiar with Illustrator, it looks like you can drag objects off of the artboard in Illustrator and just store them places, stash them away.
Yeah, you can, or you could put it on another artboard, or you could put it in the library. I mean, in the library, or you could put it, you can make a symbol out of it. For example, if I do window symbols right here, I can literally just take this and drag it in here and call it Corny. So that's what y'all call me, right? Corny gear. And movie clip is the old term that was used for Flash, for you Flash, those who use Flash. But I'm gonna just call it graph. It doesn't really matter. And then click OK. Bam. Now that is in there, and you can use this in any other application or project that you want. And all you would have to do is literally just drag and drop it out. And you can drag and drop multiple instances of that object out. Now I'm having some computer rendering problem because it shouldn't be doing this right here. I don't know what the deal is there going on there. So that's one thing you can do with once you create a 3D object, you can save it in the symbol library, or you can save it in the library, and you can access it from other locations, like if you're on your laptop or your desktop.
Let me ask a question. If you put it in the symbol library or the library and then you modified it, would it change it everywhere else, or would that instance be independent of the symbol that the library?
Okay, good question. So let's talk about that. So if I go back and do, since I've already deleted, I'm gonna go back to my symbol, since that's where I placed it, and I'm gonna drag an instant of it on the stage, right? Now, if I change this particular object, right? Let's say, let's see what I wanted. Let's say I'm gonna resize it, and then I'm gonna go to material, because I don't know what happened to that thing. Currently, what is that? Only works on some object and can be applied to multiple instances. Okay, for some reason it's thinking that's another. Must not be work. It must not work on symbols. Okay, now what you can do is once you pull it out there, you could take this symbol and break it apart. Okay, see right here, break link to symbol. And 3D material effect.
Please assume that we can't read the text that you're seeing. That's too
okay,
small.
so it's a undo break. Okay, I'm trying to, I don't know why that's not letting me. 3D material effects currently works on some objects. Okay. Let me delete that. I think I'm having some computer problems because let me do something else. Let me pull out something else. Let me do this. Let me show you. There's some 3D objects in here. Let me do this gear. Show you this gear. Well, that's a big beach ball. Okay, so you see that gear, which is a, you know, and now I can do break link to symbol. See right here, break link to symbol. So now this is independent of that library. So I could do whatever I want to this symbol. If I want to drill down into it, notice I'm drilling down into it. See right here?
Yeah.
You just double click on it to drill down into it. Just like you used to could do in Flash to get to that object, and then you can move things around. So let me just kind of maybe create it like an exploded view of this thing. Now, when I get out of this, all the way out, notice its individual components, right? Now, if I drag this symbol again, another copy of it, it's still the same symbol. So it doesn't change it. If you link it, you sever its relationship to its parent, right?
Mhm.
So if you do want
Could
to take your object and just kind of do whatever you want with it, you can sever that relationship by unlinking it from the symbol.
And
Always
now that it's unlinked, could you drag it into the symbol panel and make a different symbol out of
you
it?
could. So you can
Okay.
literally take anything you drag into that symbol parent, into that symbol panel becomes, I think this is part of that thing too. Anything I drag in there, I got to drag the whole thing because this is included inside of there. But let me just drag that in there. Why it's not going? Oh, I'm doing it. I'm not in the wrong one. I need to go over here. Over here. And you give it a name. I'm gonna say 3D exploded view. Okay. And I'm gonna make it a graphics. Click OK. And now that's a 3D exploded view inside of that symbol library. You can drag and drop as many instances as you like onto the stage. Okay,
That's
so the key
beautiful.
with
Thank
symbol
you.
is that you could create them, but you can also sever the relationship with the symbol by right-clicking on it and selecting unlink from symbol. Just like Flash, bring back the old days of Flash, where you had symbols and symbols have, it's objects inside of objects, right? This is multiple objects inside of a single object as a symbol. Okay, I didn't mean to go there, but that was a good question. Delete that. And by the way, that's what.
Sorry, I do make you digress a lot, but I appreciate it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And that's good. One thing when I'm teaching, I like interaction because that's what meaningful learning mean that you understand the subject matter, right? If I just blow over this stuff and you don't understand it, then I haven't really done.
And I think what I'm seeing is so fantastic that you can do this. I'm sorry that I'm muted. I just want to say this is exciting.
Good. So now I want to do the same thing, but this that gear again, but I'm gonna do it another technique. I learned this about a month or so ago when I was first creating these 3D objects. Let me show you another technique that you can use to, again, because this is typically like one of the first things you learn to do when you create a 3D object. But I think this one is a little bit easier, particularly for beginners. Now, advanced users, it's nice to know those features of being able to move things in 45-degree increments. That's always a good thing to know. What we call step and repeat, right? Control D, that's always good to know. So I'm not dismissing that you shouldn't do it that way because there's a lot of techniques that you always do in Photoshop. But for beginners, and you employ a technique that I'm fond of called fake it till you can make it. Okay, that's what I do. And then when you make it, then you can stop faking it. So that's my Chopinism version of that. Just let you know. Okay, but let me show you another way of doing this for you beginners out there, you little newbies. Can I say that without offending anybody? So I'm gonna draw, hold on the shift key to constrain it like so, right? And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up to the object and look at this. This is cool. I'm gonna do object repeat. Now there's different types of repeating options. Let me just show you. There's the repeat, and it kind of gives you a little preview of how it does. This is radio, mean in a circle, right? You could do a grid, that's right here, or you could do a mirror image, right? We're gonna do the radio and show you how that works. Okay, so when you do a radio, so let me just do this. Let me do it from right here. Okay, when you do that, what happens is it creates instances. Let me just move this thing right here to show you. You see, I don't know, guys, can you see it says instance 8? So it creates these different instances. That's one instance, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you could just create as many instances of that object in a circular manner. That's a big time saver, I may add. Okay, so I don't have to do the 45-degree increment and all that craziness. I can literally do this. So I want to do 8, right? So that's what that little handle does, right there, edge. Now notice this handle right here will allow you to take away the instances. You see, I'm taking away, that's one instance, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as I pull on this little handle right here. I like this big cursor so you can really see that. Now, there's yet another icon here that allows you to scale it. Look at that, I can scale it up or down. Okay, I can hypnotize you. Okay, so I want to do this. Let's see, I'm gonna go about right. Let me see where I could get it. I think that looks good right there. Now all I got to do is lay. Now, one thing you got to realize when you do.
Cornelius, can I ask you to just pause or repeat as you were demonstrating how to scale or to turn, you said, or to remove parts?
Okay.
We couldn't see what you were grabbing. Can you just
okay,
be
let
more...
me, okay, I'm gonna redo it again. So I'm gonna draw the circle, I'm holding on the shift key to constrain it. Right. Now I'm gonna go to object, repeat radio. And it's going to automatically give you, I think 8 instances. I think that's what it is. Now you got this little handle right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's a little small. It says edge, right?
That was what was hard to see.
Yeah, and it believe me, it's really small. I could just barely see it, but it's at edge, and it allows you to create the instances. Notice, I don't know if you can see, it says instance 9, 10. You know, you can go up to, I don't know how many you can go up. I don't know how many you can go to. But you can create a lot of instances. I want 8, so that's 8 right there. So that's what that one does. Then you have this one down at the bottom here, and what it does, it allows you to remove the instances. So you notice I'm kind of just taking them away from the grid, and I'm moving them back in. So that's what that handle does. Now there's yet a third handle right here that allows you to scale it up or down. Okay, still in a circle, hence the term radial, right? It's gonna always be in a circle, but you can scale it up or you can scale it down. I'm gonna scale it to about right here, because again, I'm trying to make this gear, and I wanna have a little space right here where the cog of the gear kind of goes, right? Now that I have that, I'm gonna use my elliptical tool, look for the center. Now, you guys can't see it, but I see a little, it says center, see right there? I'm gonna hold on my my option key, that allows me to draw from the center. Hold on the shift key, that's gonna allow me to constrain to a circle. And then I'm gonna drag to pull out a circle. Now I'm gonna kind of get all the way to the edge like that, that looks good. And I'm gonna let go the mouse, let go the key, okay? Now, before I can do that, I need to break this one here apart. This is not a vector shape that can work with the Pathfinder. In fact, let me just show you. If I use a Pathfinder and I select both of these and then click on Unite, where I want to combine those two shapes like we did earlier, it doesn't allow me to do that. Or maybe it did. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, so you got to break apart this back object right here. So what I want to do is go up to object expand. I wish they would say break apart, because that's what it does, is break the thing to a simpler shape that I can use for the Pathfinder. So I'm gonna do expand, and it's gonna expand the object in its field. I'm click OK. Bam. Now these are objects now, or individual objects in the back. Now it's kind of hard to see. Let me just move this. See this right here? These are individual objects. I'm gonna do Control Z, Command Z. And now when I select all of them, I just lasso around them, and then do Unite like we did before. Now all of these steps are basically the same. And do Unite. Now notice this has become one shape. Okay. Now I'm going to use my elliptical tool like I did before, and hopefully I can find the center in here. Right here, I'm thinking right there. Hold on the shift key, and I'm going to hold on the option key, and I'm going to pull and drag like so. And then I'm going to go to my, and again, I always like to just change the color just so that you can see what I'm doing better. Excuse me. I'm going to select both of them. I'm just using the selection tool. Let's select, like in most applications, right? Use the selection tool to, well, select, right? To select both shapes. And then this time I'm gonna do a minus front. And keyword that's minus front. So it's gonna, you can use that front to act as a cookie cutter of sort. And when I click on that, bam. it cut a hole in there. And now I can go to my 3D tool and do the 3D object again. Again, I'm going to object, I'm going to do extrude, and voila. Same thing, but I use a different technique to create that shape. Okay, so that was that. All right, so I'm gonna push that aside. And now the next thing I want to do is I'm gonna create a dice, if you will. And the reason why I want to create this dice, I'm holding down the shift key. I'm drawing a rectangle, but I'm holding down a shift key to constrain it to a square. And I'm gonna give this a light color, almost white. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this object and make it a 3D box, if you will. And that's fairly easy to do. Again, this is like the first thing you do for crying out loud. When you create a 3D object, you always start off with a box. Just like in programming, you always start off with what? Hello world, right? If you've done any programming. And believe me, I've done some programming. And every book I've read always have hello world in it. So that's your rite of passage, if you will, to programming. Well, the rite of passage to 3D is creating a box, and which is fairly easy in most programs, to say the least. So you click on extrude, and you can see it kind of extruded, but not enough, right? That's only 50 pixels. I want to kind of extend that out, and I'm eyeballing it. That looked like about a nice little square that I can use to make my you know, we don't be using these items right here to paint, as it were, onto the different surfaces. And this is a lot better than the old engine, believe me. The old engine was a pain, and that's being polite. This is
Cornelius, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
You just estimated how much to pull it out to make it a square. And yes, it looks like a cube to me, but if it were slightly off, wouldn't it have repercussions that didn't work? And is there a way to verify that it is indeed a square? Are there?
Well, what you could have done, and just for the sake of time, I was eyeballing it, but what I could have, let's see, what I could have done is this. Let me see if this will work for me. So you could get a like right here, when I click on this, I can give myself an actual, let's say, I don't know what, 150 by 150. Okay, so you could type in your actual element, height and width, and that's a perfect square right there. Now, when I go to make that a 3D object, and then click on extrude, now I know that if I go 150, I think 150. Now, again, this is in perspective, so it may not look like a perfect square, but that should be a square. So that's how you match, make sure that it's at least somewhat closer to a perfect. So I just eyeball this one just for the sake of time. But if I'm in production, I might do something like that. If I want see the depth is 150. So I mean, this is 150, this is 150, and that should be 150.
And how did you get it to open up the panel in which you put the numbers?
Once you create a shape, let me do that again. Once you select that, if you click and drag, you're going to create a shape. Okay, but if you select and this works with a lot of the tools, if you're on one of the tools and then you don't click and drag, but just click, emphasis there, don't click and drag, but just click, you're gonna get a dialog box that allows you to do precise measurement. I don't do that that often, right? But again, that's available in a lot of the tools. And that way you could go in and enter exact measurements. But many people don't do that, man. I don't even think many people even know to do that, but that's been around for a long time. So that's how you get a perfect square. But I don't even really have to worry about doing that anymore, because I know if I hold down the shift key, I can see the numbers. I don't know, can you guys see the numbers that says width and height? How cool is that? Can you see that number on the side of that cursor? Can you guys see that?
We can see that there are numbers, but they're illegible.
Okay. Well, it says 200 by 200. Okay, and then we'll let go to mouse, let go to key. Okay, so if I hold on the shift key, I don't really have to get the dialog box. I try to avoid dialog box. right? I always like, I tell people I'm a click, drag and drop type person. You know, if I click, double click and drag and drop, you make me happy. And I like to be happy. Y'all know that. Okay. Okay. So anyway, that's another technique. By the way, also, just FYI, we'll be doing this later on, maybe. I might have to reserve this for the next time. I think I will. Because I was going to do another real fancy object, but I'm not sure if you click on this handle right here, you can do this, right? Or if you double click on it and hold on the Alt key, you get these different other angles that you can do. You can create different shapes based upon the, you know, which one you have selected at a given time. And you can constrain certain angles and sides with this dialog box. But that's for, I was going to do this Coke can, and we're going to use some techniques on doing that, but I think I might reserve that for another day. So let's delete some of these. I'm going to delete all of these. So let's take this object, and what we want to do is map, that's the geekish term, objects onto the face, and there's 8 faces of this box, right? Remember that, what is that movie, the 10 face of Doctor Who or whatever? I can't remember the name of the movie. I'll probably know.
The 10
Wow.
something faces of Eve.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so watch this. So what I want to do is map these items onto the face of this object. And the way you do that is, and this is new to a relatively new version of this 3D engine, is again, you select what you want to affect always, right? And then I'm gonna go to material. And this time, instead of material, you got to go to graphics. And then when you go to graphics, anything that you put in, remember we put stuff in that symbol library, they're going to show up in here, and you can see them right here. And I did this earlier, so they're still there, right? These symbols. So what I did was I went to Windows, Symbols. Oh, already had it open, huh? So when the Windows Symbols, now these are icons right here. These are dots, right? Didn't come with the default symbol. So you go up to the library, and there's a boatload of stuff that you can go. Let's, for example, if you want to do, I don't know, for you nature lovers out there, I'm gonna do nature. You get you some nature symbols, see that? And you can literally just drag and drop them in here, like that. You wanna, I don't know if I want to fly. Maybe ladybug, I could deal with that. Okay, so you can literally drag and drop objects into your symbol. Anything in a symbol shows up in this graphic list. Okay, let you know that. Or you can create your own symbol. I can type in oh man, that's really small. Well, it's wrong. I don't like this font. Let me go get another font. Obviously, that's not going to work. Let's do that one. I always like Impact font. And obviously, I want to bump that up. Okay, so anyway, anything you create, delete that one. Anything you create, you can literally drag into the 3D thing, and I'm gonna call this AUG. Click OK, and now it becomes a part of that symbol library, and you can use that however many times you want to. Okay, and again, I was gonna do the Coca-Cola thing tonight, but I think I'm gonna save that for maybe next time. What I want to do now is map things onto the surface of this object. Okay, using these symbols. So that's how I got these symbols in there. I use this one right here called 3D symbols, and you can see they right here. So I literally took and just drag them into this library. It has to be in a symbol library, not in the sub libraries. Okay, to analyze the difference. Okay, and there's a boatload, and you see them right here. If you click right here, what would be another good one? Web button. So for you web developers out there, You want some cute little buttons for your web, you can go there and grab that and literally just drag and drop them in, bam, without much fuss. Okay, so, but they have to be in a symbol library in order to do that. And then you have the library, you have your own personal library. If you do Windows, I don't use a library because library is good when you're in a team environment. But if you're in a team environment, you can use a library and put stuff in your library. And then when you add another computer, you can access that from that library, same symbols. I don't use libraries that often, but you can. Anyway, let's get back to what we want to do. So now we got this object. Again, you want to select it. Then we want to go to not materials, which is this, but graphics, which is this. And then scroll down through the list. And I'm going to add these different ones. So I'm going to do the number 1 first, the eye. You see right there. And I'm going to move that right. I'm kind of eyeballing it. No pun intended there. That's an eye, right? Remember, what they call it, snake eye, when you get the 2 snake eye. Y'all know, yeah, I know you're gamblers out there. Y'all know about that. Okay, so you get the little eye right there. Now, again, I don't gamble or anything, but I know what I've heard. I don't know if it's true or not. If there's 1 here, got to be 6 on the other side, right? So they all add up to 7. At least that's what I've been told. So I got to put 7 on the other side, but we'll do that in a bit. So that's 1 right there. And when you did that, let me close these other panels out. Okay, so that's 1 right there. Notice it puts it right here. That said dice map 1. Okay, if you want to select it, you got to select it from here and not from here. That's important to remember. Okay, so let's do this side right here. Let's put in, I don't know, let's put a 2 there. So we'll look at where's 2. 2 is right here. So again, I got that object selected. I'm gonna click on this and notice it maps it. Now, what I like about this new 3D engine too, is whatever you want to map onto the surface of an object, it just literally wraps around it like a Christmas paper, if you will. I like that. The old engine, you had to kind of find the side, you had to kind of hit the button 1,000 times to find the back side of this thing and then map it on there. This, you can literally slide it like paper, as it were. The best analogy I can give is Christmas paper. You'll see what I'm talking about. Look, if I get here, you see I kind of slide. I'm on 2 sides of this thing now. How cool is that? I mean, that's cool to me. If you know the old engine, you appreciate this. I'm all excited, so forgive me about that. So I can literally just look, I could just slice that. It kind of is on the top and the side. That's cool. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna slide that over there like that. Bam. Okay, put it right there on the spot, Johnny on the spot. Then I'm gonna put 1 on top here. Let's do 3 on the top. Again, I don't care if this is not right. You guys know the numbers. Okay, so I'm gonna put 3 on the top. So I'm gonna go to, this is 3, I believe. And that's 3. And just, I love this. Look at that. I'm having too much fun with that. Okay, just move that right on top like that. That is good. And then, now the question is, how do I get to those other sides, right? Because I got to, the backside, not the backside, but the backside of this object. Just having a little fun with that. Okay.
Can you rotate the object?
What was that?
Can you rotate the object?
Yep, I can rotate the object. So what I want to do is click this object. Okay. Now, the reason why it's not letting me do that, because I'm still in this mode, right? So now what I want to do is, look, I could literally rotate the object, and let's see, if 3 is here, on the other side, I need to put 4 right here. Okay, so I need to come, I got the object selected, so where's 4? 4 is right there. And then I can just take it and just move it right there. And that 1 is there, so 6 should be on the other side. So I need to go back to the other side. Okay, so now again, you gotta make sure you have these right objects selected in order to be affected. You know that. So if this is 1 here, I need 6 on the other side. So I'm gonna rotate that to the other. Well, let's see, that's 1 there. So 6 goes on this side. So let's, what else, was that 1? I think that was 1, right? Yeah, 1, so 6 goes here, right? So this is 6 right here. And I'm gonna just move it in place. By the way, you can scale this too. If you do this, this scales it that way. You can rotate it, these different, which one is, this rotates it, right? In this case, I don't need to rotate it, but so you can rotate your texture map, that's what it's called, the geekish term for it.
Cornelius, can you link the 6 dots with the other sets of dots, the 4 and the 2, so that if you scale one, they all scale proportionately?
Say that again?
Right now you have 3 objects on the cube, a 2, a 4, and a 6. Could
Right.
you link each of those objects to one another so that if you scaled any of the dots, they would all scale up or down proportionately?
No, you can't do that. You got to do them one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, one at a time. Okay, so we got that one. So I got to go back to this though, default surface. And that's how you get this little 3D avatar. Then I got to click on it to rotate it. Got to make sure I click here. Okay, so I got 2 there. What am I missing? That's 2 on that side. So should be what, 5 over here, right? So where's 5? This is 5, looks like. Yep, I think that's 5. So I'm gonna slide the 5 in place like so. So I think I got, did I get all of them? I think so. Let me see. I think I got all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yeah, 6. I said, did I say 8 earlier? 6 sides. So anyway, there you have it. Now, and again, I can rotate this object anytime now in 3D space, and look, all of the surfaces got mapped onto the surface of this object. And now, again, this is a lot easier than the previous 3D engine, where you had to kind of use a little dialog box and you had to kind of click, click, click and get around it. And it kind of told you whether you was on the back side or the front side, and you had to look curve, you had to contend with all kind of craziness. But this, you can literally, I mean, drag it around the object and position it. I mean, you can't get easier than that, for crying out loud. Now, once you create this object, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, to borrow a phrase. What you can do is hold on the Alt key, you know what the Alt key does in most programs, right? I often tell my students, if in doubt, use the Alt key, because the Alt key does so many things, so many things, right? So if in doubt, hold on the Alt key. If you hold on the Alt key and you always see what I'm about to do, it will duplicate. You see that double arrow, black and white, that's your dead giveaway, that it's going to duplicate that up. And I can create many instances of these if I wanted to, right? And I can rotate them individually because they're individual instance of the same object, but I can have different, numbers showing up on different sides. Okay, so I can create a little dice effect doing that. Well, there you have it. And then if you wanted to, now this was available on the old version. I think, let me see, where can I do that? Okay, if I go to, by the way, again, you can still adjust, the material or the lighting if you want to, change it. Let me see, is it doing anything? Yeah, so anyway, you can kind of give it different lighting effect, and you can do that for each one of them individually. Obviously, you want to make sure you have the lighting shining in the same direction. So don't give away the illusion of the 3D. So you could change the lighting effects with these presets, and then you can change it and make custom lighting if you need to, change things like that. All right, so you could do that. Rotate your lighting. But what I was looking for, and I don't know, let me see if I can do this. It is under, oh yeah, well, I'm not gonna do that tonight. Oh, invisible object is what I'm looking at. So this is a feature that was available in the previous 3D engine. It allows you to hide the object and just have the map, the texture map, correct term, on to the surface of that. Let me show you this. It's kind of what we did with that balloon. Remember, we made a beach ball and we map a rainbow around it, and then we removed the ball and was left with the rainbow bands, as it were, right? Well, this is what that is. So you can have different text. If it, you know, in fact, I'll tell you what, let me do this. Where is it? Yeah, there we go, right now. So if I select this one, so you see I got that obviously is upside down, right? So I can move this text, I can resize it or whatever I want to do to it. So that's our logo, right? Again, you can map whatever you want onto the surface, and you can literally move it around, resize it, rotate it, scale it, whatever you need to do. And then when you go to rotate it, it's going to rotate just like that. Now you can also use this ray tracing engine if you want to make it look really good, but that is really process intensive when you run that ray tracing, where it's going to look like a real object. And I'm not going to do that because my computer literally just, you can hear the fan kick on when it does that. But that's what allows you to make it look
Cornelius, what
realistic.
does ray tracing mean?
Ray tracing basically allows you to, see right here, ray tracing allows you to give it a photorealistic rendering, meaning you want to make it look like a real object. So right now it looks like a cartoon object.
Yes.
Right. That ray tracing, I'm going to kind of polish it up and give it a little highlights and shadows and midtones and all that fun stuff.
I see.
But again, it's very taxing on your computer. You see right there, you're currently in real-time mode, but if you run this thing, you can turn it on. And then you can do this rendering.
Yeah, you don't have to demonstrate it since it will
Yeah,
slow down your computer, but
it may not be too bad on this object. It depends upon the complexity of the object. This object, it may not be a big deal. But that basically allows you to make it look more realistic. You see, I just look a lot better than this. This look a little kind of pale, this one. Now, this doesn't look too good against this white background because this thing is white here. That's what it allows you to do. What I was wanting to do, let me close with this, where I was going to do the code can, but that's going to be another 20, 30 minutes. So let me do one more thing that I mentioned, and that is I'm going to hide the object to show just the texture maps. Okay, so let me go back to that and show you what I'm talking about. So under your properties, you have this option right here called invisible geometry. So now I have this object selected so it can be affected. When I click this checkbox, wait for it, bam. Now it doesn't make a whole lot of sense with this thing because it just looks like a bunch of dots. But it's literally, you know, with the ball, you remember you saw a better example of that where they had it being mapped.
It's confusing with the dots. It was very clear with the swirls.
Right. With the ball, you got a better view of it. This right here just look like some dots on the screen. But it's literally just maintaining whatever the dots. In fact, but let me see. Well, the good news is that it shows the backside of that object when you do this, because again, you're getting rid of the whole object. So you're seeing all sides of the object. And that comes in handy when you're doing, you know, we did something, and let me do it real quick. And we'll save the code can for another advanced 3D modeling, because that's what this is, right? But let me just do another example of this, but with the, so you guys can appreciate, because you do have need of doing this. So let me use the, I'm gonna use, let's see, what I wanna do. I'm gonna use a circular tool. Yeah, let's do that. So let's use the ellipse tool. I'm gonna hold down the shift key to constrain it to a circle, right? And then let's just give it a different color. And again, it doesn't really matter because we're gonna remove, and it'll give it a 3D object of a, oh, okay, now we remember, and for beginners, this is particularly important to remember, when you're creating a 3D object, if you're using the extrude, it's gonna just stretch it out and give you a cylinder, right? You see that? Not what I wanna do. Well, in this case it is, but if you want to make a circle, a ball, then you got to cut that circle in half and then revolve it. Okay. And for beginners, they don't get that. You got to get, and it's not that difficult to picture, but if extrude is just giving it the depth look, right? Now, if I want to get a ball out of this instead of a cylinder, I'm gonna do Control Z to go back to my, went too far, back to my circle. I'm gonna use my scissors tool and I'm gonna cut here and there. So I just select that scissors tool right there. Scissors, guess what scissors do? They cut, right? And now it doesn't look like it cut anything, but if I use my selection tool, you can see indeed that it did cut. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. I say the same thing. I'm gonna use, well, if I use the extrude, look what it does. It gives you the same thing, but it's just half of a cylinder, right? Well, I want a ball out of this thing. So I'm gonna use the revolve, bam, there you have it. Okay, for most beginners, they don't get that concept. You can master that, crying out loud. You could do any 3D thing. It's like, man, all you think of if you're gonna revolve something, you need half of that something. Okay, that's all you gotta remember. How many of you, with a little effort, you can do that? If you want something to revolve, because remember, it revolves it. Let me show you how it revolves it so you can appreciate it better. You see right here, look, it takes, if you imagine a visible line right here. I like this little animation, by the way. Look at that. You see how it just kind of just gonna take it and just literally circle around that line to create that circle. You can kind of see it's closing in on the back side over there, right there. You see right here. And it's 360 degrees. So it's just zooming around that center point and creating it. So anytime you use revolve, you need to remember to use a half of an object and not the whole object to do that. Okay, that, again, it's not a big deal, but I've seen too many people, why this stupid thing not working? One of those moments. I know y'all never had those moments. I do. Okay, but that's how you do that. So now I want to map something onto this. So I'm gonna do something real quick here. Oh, not that, Control Z. So let's do a couple of different, in fact, let me use my Alt key. And I'm gonna duplicate, and then I'm gonna change the colors, right? So let's go different colors with each one of these. You see where I'm going with this in a minute. Change this to a different color. And oh, didn't want to go down into it. Okay, let's select that. And let's do a green maybe. Okay. And then I'm gonna take this and extend it. And I'm gonna hold on to duplicate. Let me move this out my way. Delete that. I'm gonna hold on my Alt key. I'm gonna duplicate it. Oh, Control Z. Select all of these. Oh, didn't mean to delete my. Okay. Hold it. Bear with me. Okay. Try to get all this junk out of my way. So anyway, I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna duplicate it because I want a couple instances of this. You can see where I'm going with this. Okay. So there you have it. Now I got all of these. I'm gonna select all of these and I'm gonna drag it to my symbol library, remember? Because it has to be in a symbol library in order for this to work. So now I have that. I'm gonna drag and drop it right in there. And I'm gonna call this, you know, colors. Okay. And that's it right there. Okay. All right, and then you could delete that. It can stay in the library, right? So now watch what happens when I map this onto the face of this balloon. So I said balloon, a ball. Okay. So again, select what I want to affect. Go to material, not material, but graphics, right? Because that's what we want. And we're going to click that and wait for it. There we go. Right. And then you can scale this thing however you want, you know, and rotate it and skew and all that fun stuff. I don't want it like that, you know. I'm trying to twist it around. Maybe scale it up a little bit this way. Because I wanted to cut, here we go, a little band. Okay, so I got it, and then again, I should have made those ribbon a little bit thicker to appreciate this better, but I think you guys will get my drift. So now that I have that, if I do invisible geometry, click on that, bam, isn't that nice? Okay, so you see how you can still see on the other side of the ball because it's invisible. I removed the ball, and now I just have whatever mapping, that's the technical term, onto the surface of that ball, and even behind it, because I've removed the object. Okay, and there's a lot of need for doing things like that. And that, you know, besides creating some nice logos and stuff like that, you can create some fancy footwork by creating an object, mapping stuff onto the surface of it, and then removing the object itself and be left with just the map, the texture map, that is. Okay, I was going to get to the Coca-Cola thing, but we're going to save that for another day because that's a bigger and more advanced technique that I don't want to start without having to stop it. So with that, any questions? Is that clear as mud? Anybody, Ray, what you say? Good.
Well, that was
Anybody
great,
else?
Cornelius. That was terrific. Thank you. I'm sorry had muted myself, but that's plenty for today. We will look forward to Coca-Cola next month.
Yeah, I was looking forward to doing the Coca-Cola, but
The cool drink for August.
yeah, we can do it August. You know, and it's okay, Karen. I never feel guilty about asking questions, because if I don't know, I typically like to find out. In fact, I tried to do your little croissant. Remember, you wanted me to do a croissant.
Yes.
I did try that. I wasn't perfectly successful, but I did create a little croissant, a 3D
Well,
croissant.
then you have to work on the butter and jelly on it.
Right, but
And
the butter is easy.
I think Emre's raising his hand too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Please
go on
unmute.
mute.
I just thought about it, Corny. Is that what you did to that sphere? Would that be called a corny wrap?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all week.
Well, you know, they call me at work, they call me corn chop. And I tell people not to be confused with pork chop. Okay, and they get the corn chop because my first name is Cornelius, last name is Chopin. So when I send something to the printer, it prints out 4x4, which is corn for Cornelius and chop, CHO, for Chopin chop. So it comes together, corn chop. So the lady said, well, can we call you corn chop? I said, yeah, you can call me corn chop, you know, but you know, I've been called worse. Don't confuse it with pork chop though.
Well, thank you very much for this. This has been terrific.
Okay. So
And,
we'll do the cocaine next month.
Okay, and I will put the video up on the website sometime this week.
All right. And by the way,
Okay.
please, if you can, you guys, can you please go to YouTube and do that Photoshop training and tutorial made easy. Click on the like, subscribe, notify, and whatever else you do. And that would help promote that video, because I could definitely use the competing with the big boys.
Can you put
And
up the link on the chat, please?
What was that again?
He wants you to put what to look for on YouTube in order to do what you're asking.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, let me look that. Let me get that link off for. Oh, it's on the website, right? The link to YouTube.
I honestly don't remember, but I think you put in the chat room earlier, not
Yeah,
a link,
that's
but you
probably
said
here somewhere.
what to link for.
Yeah, let me look for it. I'm not a big Facebook person. I think you have it.
I don't think it was a Facebook thing. You just this evening,
YouTube link someplace.
So Cornelius, we're asking, how do you just asked us
Oh,
to
right
like you on, was it on YouTube?
Yeah.
What is it that we're liking?
Oh, it's the unmasking the mystery of the mask video. There's some rapping
Un-
professor
I'm,
ones
I'm
out there.
typing it into the chat room, unmasking
The mystery
the
of the mask.
mystery of the mask on YouTube.
And the define it. You do the Photoshop. I put it in here. Photoshop training and tutorial made easy. If you go to YouTube and type that in, it'd be the first one. It'd be the first one to come up. 'Cause this will go
Photoshop
right-
what?
Photoshop training and tutorial made easy.
Okay.
And then there's several videos. You'll see my little face up there. And then the one though that you want to look for is the unmasking the mystery of the mask. You can look at all of them, but that's the one I'm really focusing in on.
Okay. Is everybody able to copy that in the chat room before I close the meeting and the chat room disappears? I'm getting thumbs up. Very good.
And I'm
And
just
Sam
kind of,
and Sherry, we can never see what you're feeling or saying, so we'll just assume that you're good.
oh, you say you like the big cursor?
Oh, yeah, very good, very nice. And just remember too, that all of the words like in that panel that you have open to the right, we can't read them at all. We can see the shapes, but we can see that there's text,
Oh, is
but
that
I
right?
can't make out what the
Yeah,
text says.
Yeah, that's
So if you select something, please just read the labels and
okay.
make it clear what it is. Okay, I'm gonna end this Zoom call. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good month. Keep cool.
Okay. All right, well, we see you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.